A little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, son of a bitch!
I'm a comedian, yeah.
Jesus!
Stone Cold E.T. will like a couple cheeseburgers.
Raging elephants!
Undertaker, you come on down. Die, die, die.
Oh my God!
Welcome back to the Crucial Squared Circle, the most crucial wrestling podcast with Mark Franchise, Davison Sarai, and the most dangerous letter in the alphabet, T.
And of course, if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you!
All right, welcome back to the Crucial Squared Circle. Mark Franchise, as always, joined by the ever lovely Davison Sarai.
Happy Valentine's Day, Franchise.
Yeah, you too. And the most dangerous letter in the alphabet, T.
Hey, happy Valentine's Day, folks.
Yes, indeed. A special Valentine's Day version of the Crucial Squared Circle. Not really, but hey, it's on Valentine's Day.
Did you say version or virgin?
That
Wow.
will have to remain a mystery until we listen
mine's
back.
not a mystery. I am not a virgin.
Yeah, me neither.
Today.
Today. I am today, however.
I've not been abstinent today.
Yeah.
What a fantastic time to be a wrestling fan. This is like the season. Everything's coming together right now.
Absolutely. We got through Wrestle Kingdom a couple months back, especially with the involvement, not only with, we're coming up on Wrestlemania season, of course we got TakeOver, coming up on Revolution, All Elite. Those matches are starting to come together a little bit as well. Ring of Honor's taking off, Power's taking off. You guys know Power is owned by Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, right?
No, I did not know that at all.
Really? Oh, you avoid every... Yeah, he's on like every single interview ever. He's not shy about how happy he is to own NWA.
That's really cool.
He's always repping it. He reps it hard. Yeah.
All right.
Pretty
all right.
sweet. And then, of course, we got the local federation here, Independence Pro Wrestling in Kalamazoo, which is really starting to take off.
Rock and roll. Good folks over there at IPW.
God, super fun show. I mean, we went to the one in January, and that was our first time going, and we were all pretty impressed with the crowd, the energy, talent. Maybe it was just because I was more familiar with it. This felt more cohesive. I don't know. Yeah, it got me. The matches, just really, really good show. Some of the matches were really great.
I gotta be honest with you. The more I'm discovering it, and the more I'm going back and researching some of the older events of IPW, and attending it and being a part of it as well, Death Threat Army is becoming one of my favorite factions.
Aren't they cool?
Just straight up, just a bunch of dudes who just somehow look like they all fit within this group, just a group of just absolute destruction and all sorts of different wrestling styles. And I'll be honest with you, especially after watching some more clips of other wrestling federations, dude, Tommy Vendetta is a serious talent. That guy is doing some cool ass moves, and he's just pulling them off, make them look easy.
Yeah.
And it just is just his personality. Like all the guys in IPW so far, especially DTA, it's just a whole lot of fun.
Well, that's interesting because when I think of DTA, obviously, yeah, I agree that they're really good in the ring.
I don't trust them.
Well, you shouldn't. The first thing I think of is their collected personality. Like, I love how smart-ass they are. They definitely have some Undisputed Era kind of vibe going on a bit.
Yeah.
But remind me, what is, like, the muscle of the group? He's the big dude, and he was in the tag match with Wick at the last show.
Isaiah Bronner.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I remember, like, what a fun tag team those two are, because it's really got that Dynamite and Davey Boy vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, word. Yeah, okay. I can definitely see that.
But, yeah, I was just really impressed with a lot of those guys. And what I like, too, is Josh has obviously got them kind of following that classic mold of, what are your strengths? Cool. That's what you're going to do. You know, like, it doesn't seem like anybody's exposing big holes in their repertoires. They're being pretty smart about how they're presenting their matches. And
that's a lot of you take a look at some of the stuff like from that's on the internet that you go to a lot of independent shows and they have like the Botchamania whole thing, and I've not seen one. I mean, just it's nothing but smooth wrestling.
I saw one. There was a table that they went through.
Yeah,
I do remember that.
I mean, R.I.P. Whatever. I was going to say Mexican Spanish announce table, and then I was going to say, what do you call that exactly?
Spanish announce table went down.
Yeah.
Went down the last event. Oh,
sure did.
So there's
R.I.P.
there's a
Good guys over there, though.
Yeah, they're solid dudes. They do a podcast called Smarking Down, and it's it's wrestling based, obviously. And
DTA though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, did not expect that, which is why I brought it up.
Somebody did a full gainer and a power bomb themselves into their announce table. For those who weren't privy,
Absolutely smoked the monitor off the table, spilled a drink all over their computer.
yeah.
Oh man, that's why in here we're not allowed to have drinks by the board, because I could have bad news.
Always
No,
move your pencils.
that's
Always
on-
mwith your pencils.
That's on my side. That's why I set it behind me. But yeah, there's so many. That's a cool thing with the with the independent scene in Michigan. A lot of these guys and gals are working throughout the state constantly on a weekend basis. So they stay really steady and they stay really busy. But no matter who is able to be booked for IPW, because there is only so much talent and you've got so many different federations operating throughout the state. It's hard to have a steady roster, but I think Josh does a pretty good job of concealing a lot of those guys and making sure he's got some heavy hitters every single time coming in.
Yeah. I thought it was real cool. Sorry, T, but when he mentioned Alex Shelley's name right up front, just having been a fan of Michigan independent stuff and regional independent wrestling for a long time, before they even became known for he and Chris Sabin as the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah.
He'd already been in both TNA and Ring of Honor for a while doing all that Japanese work. So to hear that he's coming to the Fed is just like, man, such a stamp of authenticity for me.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And from what we know, Alex Shelley, from what he had said, he said he was going to be back. So, I'm kind of banking on that. And it's kind of exciting to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because the idea of being able to call a match with Alex Shelley, wrestling is just insane. And the fact that Truth Martini showed up.
That's what I was about to bring up.
Oh my God! Like how I remember actually when I was sitting there, I was getting the match results from Josh, and he was like, "You've got Gracefully Chosen. They're coming out with Truth Martini," and I was like, "Holy shit, Truth Martini's here!" And I looked up, and he was standing there talking to the guys, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is freaking sweet!"
And by the way, huge shout out to Gracefully Chosen.
Yeah.
Oh my
Jesus,
gosh.
are they impressive?
They are very impressive.
And I don't know, we said it before. Excuse me. 4 months in the ring now. They've been training for a while.
Yeah.
But 4 months of active in-ring,
Really?
4 months.
4 months.
4 months. So I
Man.
heard.
Yep.
I learned to juggle in a week. I couldn't learn to wrestle in 4 months.
Isn't that what Truth said to us? Like, because we brought him up.
Yeah, we asked him afterwards, like, man, those guys are super impressive. And he was like, they're even more impressive when you hear this part.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really good. They gave me a real strong vibe of Proud and Powerful.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Same attitude.
Yeah, same kind of attitude, and they both brought a particular skill set and trade to the tag team, and of course when you're wrestling, the Grey Wolves were the IPW tag champions. They
The textbook definition of transitional champs. Sorry, dudes.
Eesh.
Hey,
it was rough.
It was rough.
I didn't make that
tough
shit
time.
up. It's an adjective.
They were.
Look at the adjective.
Look at
Transitional.
look
It's
at
an
the
actual
noun,
adjective.
transitional.
Sorry.
But the Grey Wolves, they had the advantage. They were at a disadvantage when they were going up against DTA, but after they had kind of tricked them into thinking that they had attacked one another, well, then they turned it around. They pulled a fast one, especially with Karam coming out and distracting the ref, distracting DTA. They pulled a fast one, but there is no pulling a fast one with Gracefully Chosen with Truth Martini by ringside, because
Truth Martini pulls the fast ones. He doesn't have fast ones pulled upon him.
yeah.
It was wicked.
He's a fast one puller.
He's a fast puller.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, no, that was definitely a surprise for me to see Truth Martini, and I didn't realize I was walking with gods. I think that we should do in some way, shape, or form reach out because I am very interested to meet these new tag team champs from IPW.
Oh.
They seem like cool cats, and they're from Ann Arbor, just a shot away from here, like 2 hours. What's that?
Yeah.
So yeah, we could
Truth.
have definitely a conversation with them and Truth Martini.
Yeah, Truth's got her card. We're gonna set something up. This busy rest of the month actually with him. They've got 2 shows the next 2 weekends. I'm thinking about going to the one next weekend. I'm really considering it.
Where is it?
Probably in Lansing.
It's it's next Sunday. And it is, let me see if I can pull this up really quick. Oh, it's the House of Truth Pro Wrestling School CCW. It's
there you
City
go.
Championship Wrestling.
And that's Truth Martini's.
Yeah.
School. Yeah, cool.
Truth's going to be there. Gracefully Chosen. Heidi Katrina is going to be there. The Party Animals, Mysterious Movado and El Ridiculoso.
Oh, very cool.
Isaiah Bronner's going to be there.
Are the Thumbs going to be there?
Dickie Watts.
The Thumbs. Please
The
make that
Thumbs.
their name.
Dude, they're going to be the Thumbs to me. So we were talking about how impressed we were with certain aspects of IPW. I just had to say the tag team that featured, who were they? Were they going against the Grey Wolves? It was Caleb Stills and Nate Bach. Nate Bach.
No,
I
they
can't
went
remember
up
who they were
against
facing.
Adam Wick and Isaiah Bronner.
Oh, that's
DTA.
right. I was screaming with T at the fact that Caleb was on the outside of the ring the entire time,
Yeah.
holding his tag rope, mind you, like he's supposed to. Nath Bach, this guy refused to tag for a good 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he just kept getting pounded, and that made it good for me. I like it when a person sets himself up like that, so I can then at least enjoy a little bit of their misery.
Yeah. Well, Caleb Stills has had
Hey, you did this to yourself.
a successful run so far in IPW as a singles competitor. He's been in the 2, I think the last previous 4 events, he's been in 2 events. I think he came up with the win once, actually. So in singles competition, he's right there. This was my first time seeing Nate Bach. I think it was less of Nate's inability. I think maybe it was just because, they're going up against DTA. It's the first time they've teamed together in IPW. So the bar was already set extremely high. The bar! And I think he was just overwhelmed by the whole capacity of everything. The crowd.
Could be.
It was a big-ass crowd there. I mean, it was just fantastic event. Karam ended up taking the IPW world title.
Speaking of impressive, that guy
Yeah.
is.
My gosh.
That was also a surprise.
You know what I was thinking? He gives me serious hybrid vibes of Rick Rude and Rusev.
Yeah.
He's got that Rick Rude build,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to say he's massive.
Well, he's charismatic too. Even for a guy, his size, and he's just, I don't know. There's something about him that he had that confidence. He was sick of kind of sitting in the shadows of DT. You could even see it during high stakes.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the ring, and he's just kind of laying low, laying back, and he could kind of feel he didn't feel at home. He didn't feel a part of it, and he's like, you know what? I can take these dudes.
Yeah. Over
And
it.
He proved it by beating Jack Price, the Black Diamond, which is no easy task.
Yeah, I've never won against him.
Yeah, me neither. I'm 0 for everything. I'm
Yeah.
0 for the century with that guy.
I tried when DTA stood for down to arm wrestle, and then I may have been the last one, actually. There was a whole civil suit. I mean, it was bad.
Oh, man. Okay.
So they switched it up.
Glad you avoided that.
But
But
I
um,
I
I'm
didn't.
surprised they were able to keep the acronym.
Well,
I mean, you can't own letters. I get it. You
Yeah.
can own words.
and man, talking about having the crowd, the crowd, the Kalamazoo crowd is really behind DTA. They got a lot of fans, but man, easily, without a doubt, Zach Ibiza is just a huge
Yeah.
phenom out here.
Kid's over, man.
Whole crowd was chanting his name.
I met his dad at the bar. It was
Yeah.
actually really funny. He seemed confused at why we were there at the show as well, because he was like, "What are you doing with all those mics? Those guys are announcing over there." And I was like, "Oh, so tell me about your son." He was so proud of his kid. It was so cute. He was just going on and on,
That's dope.
he's been training for about a year. He's been dreaming of this his whole life. It's so cool to be here supporting him.
Rock
He's
and
got
roll.
cool style. He's got great in-ring talent. I think his
yeah.
finisher
Great.
is the Diamond Dust, the flipping stunner off the turnbuckle.
Yeah, I love that.
He had Aaron O'Ryan on the ropes for the Michiana Championship, and it was a close one. But Yeah, I mean, Aaron O'Ryan's just a freaking force. No doubt why he is the leader of DTA for sure.
He's a beast.
But yeah, all around great event, and again, huge crowd. I mean, I can't say like they doubled, but it's like every single time we've been there.
Well, here's what I would say: is maybe it didn't double in size. Like, I mean, it was a big turnout and every seat was taken just like the first time we were there, but I would say that it grabbed a different crowd. Like, it was not normally, there was just also the same group of folks that we ran into last time within the first couple rows.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of newer people there, which was kind of cool. And then when we were cleaning up with everybody and hanging out, talking with folks, one of the gals at the bar was like, "Oh, y'all do this often?" Already hyped up about the next set because there was a whole bunch of people that were coming in as we were going out.
Right.
And I think that that's truth to what they were doing, and also tied to what you had said the other day, Davison, is that they raised their prices.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, they upped their prices and a little bit, nothing too crazy, but it is in the vein of they're doing well.
That's what you do.
And that's what you do.
Right, exactly.
So the last set of shows we were going and doing, it was $10 a pop for general admission, $20 for front row, and $35 for meet and greet.
Yeah.
I think that they just bumped up $2 just about
No,
for
it's $5.
It's $2. Yeah, it's $12 general admission.
Oh,
$25 front row.
That's what it was.
But meet and
okay.
greet is still $35.
rock and roll, and I mean that's doable. I think that's still within a bit of reason when it comes down to things with everything.
They're in that interesting position where it's a good problem to have. Technically, they're right on the verge of outgrowing this venue.
Right.
And that's what I was saying was, well, you can't outgrow it unless you got another thing. So in order to quote unquote thin the herd a bit, you got to jack your prices up and find that balancing point. They could definitely charge more than even what you just mentioned as the uptick if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah, easily. With
But
the
now-
amount of talent they have
Yeah.
and the type of show they put on.
But they've also got that sweet situation with Terry being the GM there.
No
You
doubt.
have such easy access, and it's a great venue. So, again, it's a good problem to have, but you can only jack the prices up so high, and then you are going to have to look at another venue. So,
Yeah, no doubt.
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in 2020 the way they're going.
But Terry told me about some stuff, some things that he's hoping for the future, for the summertime, and if his plans, come to fruition, we are going to see some big things this summer with IPW.
Wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, it's like I said, the event was a blast. Tough Luck is their next event coming up.
Good name.
Yeah, Saturday, March 14th. Same place, Y Bar Kalamazoo. VIP meet and greets 5:30, seating is 6, and then bell time is 7 p.m.
Bell
See,
tire.
I remember how
Sorry.
excited I remember how excited you were about the macaroni bar way back when.
Okay,
Have
yeah.
you tried it yet?
No. I don't want to talk about it.
What was all that hype about?
Well, the hype is still consistent within my soul. However, I've not gotten the opportunity to participate in that adventure, so I don't want to talk about it. So please move on.
We'll have
Sorry.
to visit the way. It's a touchy subject.
I moved on. Mark, you say whatever you need to, but I am moved on.
Yeah, we'll have to go there one night and test it out. Well,
Yeah.
you can't really do it the night of the event because you're all, you're nervous and you got stuff to do.
I don't want
too.
macaroni on my mic.
True, yeah. And on the mind. You need to have your mind clear, macaroni. But yeah, Tough Luck, Saturday, March 14th, Y Bar Kalamazoo. Look it up on Facebook. It's going to be a blast. I'm excited for it. I'm ready.
Smells like hazelnut creamer.
Yes.
That's
I
what
know,
my
it's
that's what I'm
smelling
drinking with my
hazelnuts.
coffee. I don't.
Oh, it's this.
Wow.
This week was another big week in professional wrestling, too, as Nyla Rosa made history.
Yeah.
And we discussed it up front, and I'm glad we're going to go this route. Predictably, I mean, hello, we don't even need to say it, but the landscape responded predictably.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that, again, it's been such an amazing journey watching Nyla come up. She's still very green. Her best years are ahead of her, but she has made history in so many ways and is opening doors that other people aren't even passing through yet. And I'm just really glad that I get to witness this happening. And nothing but the best to a trailblazer in Nyla Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's an exciting time in wrestling. And again, we're dealing with a sport that, throughout the years, the landscape has changed so much. And it's the point that I continue to make to wrestling fans online. It's that it's a matter of inclusion. It's a matter of feeling like you're welcome. And the more people are welcome within this wrestling community, the better all around it's going to be.
Yeah.
And you know what? Nyla Rose heard the community, and she had one thing to say about it on Twitter, and that was #DieMadAbout it.
Yep. And that's how I live my life, and that's how we have to live our lives if we're going to, make it the way society is right now. And by we, I mean the trans community. It's ugly out here, but what you need to do, and this is how I make my life work, is remember that anybody who's going to cast those sorts of stones are so far beneath any kind of effort I need to be making.
Yeah.
They're throwing rocks way too high for themselves, so it's like, just remembering that. It's a nice little loop. Like, oh, if you're willing to do that to us, you are of the lowest character and completely, not too important to listen to your opinions.
Yeah, no doubt. But either way, congratulations to Nyla. And really, it's an interesting take. I'm curious to see where they're going to take the women's division now, or who they're going to pin her up against. You got to imagine Statlander's going to be up there too, or maybe even Britt Baker.
Britt Baker is on a tear right now.
Yeah, that's who they're probably going to be lining that one up for.
Nyla's been kind of a tweener leaning towards heel, but I think, this is what I love about it too. The AEW crowd is absolutely going to be embracing of her, obviously. Yeah. I think even without her having to change much, she's probably a face now for having just won the belt.
Yeah.
And so seeing her go against Britt Baker right now would be really pretty, and it'd be an interesting mix of their styles.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see them go against one another. I got to throw it out there, though. That match, there were some off shots and them figuring things out in that match, but I got to say, Rio's tough.
Isn't she?
She is a tough individual, and that is something that I do want to make sure we acknowledge as well. That was not just a squash match. That was not just a fast match. That was not just a match that was, I'm taking this title and walking away with it. That was a solid endurance match, and I think that that's something that we need to also recognize, is that it was earned on both fronts. It was not something that was given or just taken.
This is like the second or third time that she and Nyla have had a high-profile match, because I think they were in the finals for the original title creation.
Yeah.
And Riho has always given her best matches. Yeah. It just blows my mind. Rio's been doing this since she was 11 years old?
Yeah,
some crazy 9 years old.
Nine.
So she's in her 30s. She's got 20 years of experience, but she has zero body fat. She doesn't appear to have any muscle. So how she absorbs those bumps is what really freaks me out.
That one off the ring, or the ropes, was what...
I don't know how she absorbs that. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's no padding on her.
No. No.
I mean, I guess thank God she only weighs about 18 pounds so she can bounce. But holy mackerel. It's all elbows and sharp joints, just banging
Right,
them.
no joke.
All she has is elbows.
Whole body's just...
Finger elbows, knee elbows.
The most dangerous joint in the body.
The elbow.
The most intriguing joint there is.
Mm-hmm. Holy crap! I haven't brought up.
What's that?
Do you remember me bringing up the name Jeff Cobb before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Jeff M.F.ing Cobb shows up. Now I didn't catch Dynamite live. I had to watch it the next day. When I heard his name, I thought I heard them say that he came out to team with Moxley, and I about lost my marbles.
Yeah.
And then when I found out what it actually was, I'm still stoked because he's so awesome. Neither of you are really familiar with him, though, right? Before he showed up there?
He's a former. He's been in the independent circuit, but he was a former tag champion with Matt Riddle too.
Yeah, PWG. He's been a Ring of Honor world and pure champion or whatever the secondary title is now.
Yeah.
The
He's
Hawaiian
a big
Rhino.
deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he was an Olympic level Greco-Roman wrestler as well.
Wow.
He's real legit.
He's a beast. I haven't seen too many matches on him. I know the history. I know his title history and his wrestling history, but just to see, again, this is a cool thing about AEW, is a lot of these wrestling fans will come out and say, who the hell is this guy? Big deal. And it's okay, just because somebody isn't Seth Rollins doesn't
Well, just because you don't know who it is doesn't mean they don't exist. That's the thing,
Don't you want to learn who these people are? Whatever happened to discovering wrestling?
Yeah. It's...
Like I said, a lot of these fans feel if they're not force-fed it, then no big deal. I think that's why a lot of these people will say the Young Bucks are trash and there's nothing special about them, but have never gone out and actually watched some of the matches.
Do you both feel like you can be objective, like even if you're watching your favorite stuff, and I go out of my way to make sure I can do this, and still look at it critically and go, yeah, but man, there's a lot of this that just sucks. Like a lot of my stuff, I'm willing to admit.
Yeah.
I love the Bucks, and so many people dislike them. And, the more I watch them, I'm like, okay, yeah, they do hit, just like anybody, though, the same spots per match.
Yeah.
But their spots are a lot more intricate and exciting. And for some reason, I think that rubs people the wrong way. Like, it's just too much patternistic, like, match after match kind of thing. But
have you ever seen the rope break incident with Will Ospreay and Ricochet?
Top rope? Was it?
Yeah.
What Fed was this in? Do you know?
No.
I do not know. It was a sequence that they pulled off that was about a good minute and 15 seconds.
Oh, yeah, their Matrix sequence.
Gotcha.
Yes. And it ends with them doing the front flip bounce, the handstand where you bounce your legs off the top rope and come back.
Yeah.
Well, they
the
both
back
did it
flips.
in unison. The top rope snapped. They still completed the back flip into the frickin' superhero pose.
When those two wrestled each other, this was really throughout 2016. And then that's when Ospreay moved up into Japanese, and then that's when Ricochet got more and more popular.
Yeah.
Like he was the initial champion, Prince Puma in Lucha Underground.
Oh,
Yeah.
word.
That's a real
Okay.
fun one as well.
Prince Puma.
But yeah, those two had, and that's another one. A lot of people were like, I can't stand those matches. They're so highly choreographed.
Right.
There's so much in tandem. But it's like, yeah, and they probably did choreograph it, but think back again to like Eddie Guerrero, Malenko back in the day. If you're going to fly through sequences, everybody does use the same sequences eventually, and these guys just invented higher level sequences.
There is zero difference between what Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko were doing back in the day and with what those guys are doing. They're just doing it on a higher level, and people all of a sudden are freaking out about it. And it's like there's literally nothing different.
There's nothing
about that.
new under the sun except the names and faces.
And
come on.
that's the thing. It's like that takes so much endurance. And at the top of that, and okay, I'm a fan of kung fu flicks.
Yep.
So
Show enough.
Show enough.
yeah, so I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "This is fake."
Of course it is.
Right.
Hello?
Yeah, but in my mind, I'm watching it to go, okay, I know they're using.
I see what you're saying.
I
Yeah,
know
I see
they're
ya.
using strings at some point, but if you're telling a good story, I'm not thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite kung fu movie of all time, Legend of Drunken Master, Jackie Chan.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the most, it's just a super silly, ridiculous movie, but the fighting and the fact that Jackie Chan has mastered the art of drunken boxing, I've always had a soft spot in my heart. I've always had a passion for that fighting style because it's very sloppy, but it's mastering the art of the sloppiness of it so that it's very intricate and it's just really weird and it's unlike anything out there.
Yeah.
So when you watch a movie like that, it's like, well, of course this is all pieced together, but you're watching live fighting.
Yep.
You're watching these guys do it in life, in real time, no strings attached. And how can you not stand up and applaud for doing that? For
Pro
pulling
wrestling
that off?
pro wrestling has more in common with like
Cirque du Soleil.
or like Renaissance fairs even.
Yeah.
Like live like LARPing.
Yeah.
Than it has
LARPing.
than it does with movies or any other kind of media.
Right.
LARPing's a good word.
Isn't that fun? Live action.
Role playing.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Oh. The-
It was like onomatopoeia. It just looks like they're LARPing.
yeah, that's what I was like,
LARP.
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 So we're coming up on NXT Takeover. Portland, isn't it?
Portland.
It is.
Portland.
That's what I heard about the Broserweights trying to get across the country and like. Did you watch these
In the
promos?
Kubota?
So
Put a bird on it.
funny. So basically, I got a hold of Mark, I think earlier. Was like they're doing the Jay and Silent Bob thing. They did like 3 or 4 vignettes, and they were supposed to have a plane, and then somehow Riddle screwed it up. So the Bruiserweight's like, so now what are we gonna do? Riddle's like, don't worry about it, dude. I got it all lined up, bro. And then they show him in like one of those big swan boats, like where they're pedaling to get across whatever body of water. And then later in the show, they show him like, I don't know, hitchhiking. But anyway, it was just really funny to see them actually playing to some character with those two. I wasn't sure how long they were going to go as a team, but it looks like they're actually investing some time.
It's fucking
Which is
dope.
pretty funny.
Because Riddle is just so in character and Dunn is just emotionless and just like, yep.
The perfect straight man, because he's literally annoyed all the time.
NXT tag champions, and he's just sitting there with like no expression on his face, just nodding his head like, uh-huh.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Like, I know this.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an awesome show. NXT consistently puts on the best pay-per-views of anything under the WWE banner.
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, I mean, as much as I love AEW, I think in terms of talent, NXT is where it's at. I think AEW is getting there. I think they've got a lot of, and this is going back to what you were saying, Davison, about being able to critique the things you love. My favorite brand right now is AEW.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
But critically speaking, because it's more entertaining to me as a fan, but I'm liking NXT as the dominant brand, because it's just there's no doubt they've got so much ridiculous talent.
Yeah.
It's unquestionable. To say who has the better talent pool, it's NXT.
I would say that if you watch Adam Cole against a Gargano, let's say, and you compare the quality of that, though, of Omega on his best night against a Pac, I'm going to say even Steven. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then if I watch consistent NXT shows versus AEW shows, there are way more peaks and valleys in AEW, because I think of some of those little booking snafus we've talked about.
Yeah.
The women's division is definitely a bit of a lag.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, the wrestling on both is right on par, and that's why I enjoy them both. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I enjoy them both for different reasons.
As a quick jump, before we get too carried away with the NXT Takeover piece, I do want to make another shout out to the fact that there was no SCU on AEW, which I appreciated, actually.
This week?
This week, yeah. At least I don't think I saw anything SCU related.
I thought maybe it was the week before, because they had an opening match. I hope it wasn't this week. They had an opening match against, I guess I don't know.
TH3?
No. I don't know.
The glowworms. Yeah.
They would not open on Dynamite, believe me. They're hiding them in the middle of the card on Dark.
They're gonna be the first team to get chucked next week.
Probably
Easy
Well,
money on that.
Yeah, no. I mean, SCU is fine and all, but having a week without him or hearing the SCU, it's fine. It's
I'm bored.
fine.
I don't
It's
really
fine.
care. Yeah.
Austin Aries should be by himself. And then, but I do want to also say,
Austin Aries.
Christopher
Daniels?
Scorpio Sakai.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, not in looks, just in names. Austin Aries, Scorpio Sky, alliteration versus what's an assonance?
Alliteration and
I think it's assonance. Yeah.
Awesome.
Assonance.
But anyhow, Jungle Boy and MJF, that was a good match. It was a very good match.
Yeah, and MJF taking the freaking short route.
Yeah. Good match.
He's a good heel. He's a really good heel.
Okay, sorry. Just wanted to make sure I said that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As for critique-wise, yeah, I can say that, between the two, I can agree that there is a good depth of roster when it comes down to NXT. There does still need to be having some kinks worked out with AEW, such as the cuts and missing the jump that what's-his-name did, Sammy Guevara did off the rope, missing that almost, and then same thing happening almost every other week. I'm not saying that there is any Dunn involved, but you know what? Damn it, Dunn, you need to get off the goddamn scene. You know who Dunn is? Kevin Dunn? Kevin Dunn? Fucking Kevin Dunn?
Kevin Dunn.
Fuck Kevin Dunn.
The producer?
The producer. God damn it, Kevin Dunn.
Did he come over to AEW?
No, I don't want him anywhere near AEW. He just, anytime I see
why are you cursing his name right now?
Just anytime I see a poor cut, I think of Kevin Dunn.
Oh, you think of Kevin Dunn. I got you. I thought he was responsible for those cuts right now.
Like it's over and done with.
Yeah, no.
I think you're talking about Pete Dunne for a hot second. Like, whoa, you've certainly gone a 180 on the old Dunster.
No. I'm all for the Pete Dunne. I just don't like Kevin Dunn. That's it.
Well, let's talk about the card a little bit then.
Yeah.
And Mark, I think we nailed it with the matches. There's usually 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my prediction of order is that they will start with the Broserweights and Undisputed Era. I think when you go that way and you open a show, well, there's been a history of takeovers where they open with those guys, and it's cool because Undisputed Era is so good at making their opponents look like they're going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, every single match. I've always thought that they were going to drop the titles, and I don't know that it's happened except for that time against Mustache Mountain.
Yeah.
I could definitely see them, though, dropping the belts to the Broserweights this time because of some of my later predictions. I think they want to start it with a big bang, and I think that would be the way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think to build Riddle and Pete Dunne up only to lose to Undisputed Era would kind of like take the steam out of the whole thing. Plus certain feelings that I have about this pay-per-view lead me to believe that Undisputed Era is going to leave the event titleless.
Yeah, I can agree with that, and I was also going to think that the Undisputed Eras might find themselves climbing the ranks. That's my thought, concern, and worry, actually.
Like going up to the main roster?
Yeah, I think they might be going to Fox.
You know?
I don't want it.
Well, here's the thing, though. Oh, that's the other thing we should probably touch on is all the shuffling that's going on with Vince after that $1 billion loss.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
Holy
you mentioned that a little
mackerel.
while ago.
But so when that kind of thing happens, and remember, I've been predicting for a while that if and when that happens, and it just did, there are going to be heads rolling. There has to be. And the main reason all that money went away is because Vince decided on a whim to fire 2 of the 5 presidents of the company.
Right, and yeah, those were the folks that were behind the network,
The Fox
too.
deal in the first place.
The Fox deal and the network.
So they were telling him, you're making decisions that are costing your company money. You brought us here to help you make money. And eventually he didn't like their methods anymore. He said, all right, well, hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And then people watching it were like, they don't all follow Vince McMahon logic. So they were like, wow, that's a fairly erratic, crazy thing for a multi-billion-dollar business owner to do. But anyway, I think there is a bit of a shuffling happening. The ratings have not been great on Friday. This might be the time to bring up a bunch of really hot new talent and wrap some writing around that. It is easier to be creative when you have new toys, so to speak.
Yeah, and they're coming up on WrestleMania season, so it's the beginning of the season, and
It is pointing season, folks.
True story.
But they've got that farm system.
So we all said that, though. I guess we agree. Broserweights across the board, huh?
Yeah, no doubt.
Roserweights.
My second prediction then would be Roderick Strong versus the Velveteen Dream.
Ooh.
Now, you know of my undying devotion and love for Roddy and his million ways to break backs. And I just realized, I do mean that in various ways.
Is this for a belt?
No, it's just for pride. Velveteen showed up with the airbrush pants a la Rick Rude back in the day.
Yeah, no, he's been doing that.
And he had Roderick's not only wife, but kids' faces on his ass. Woo! So Roddy's fighting for the honor of his wife and kids' faces on Velveteen's ass.
Didn't, what's his face? AJ Styles do that with The Fiend? There was an ass involved. No, never mind.
I think Samoa Joe maybe airbrushed his ass on somebody's face, but I
Now,
can't.
No, that's
No.
Rikishi.
are we sure that's not happening next week on NXT? Because I'm not seeing that on the card.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, okay, F me. What is the actual card?
Never mind.
Well, we've covered the tag team. Dakota Kai versus Tegan Knox in a street
That's
fight.
the one I forgot about.
You
Okay.
said Tegan Knox in a street fight?
Yeah, versus Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai. They're
Dakota
the
Kai's gonna
Australian
take
or I'm sorry, one's Australian, one's Kiwi.
Dakota Kai's going to take it.
I'm inclined to agree. Yeah, that feud's pretty young, and it wouldn't make sense to blow off yet with a face win. So
Yeah, Dakota Kai.
her dark character's really good too. Man, she's got a mean streak that I never realized she was gonna have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
The NXT North American Championship, Keith Lee versus Dominic.
Dijak.
Keith Lee's taking it,
Obviously.
keeping
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he drops it already.
it. No.
But that match is going to crush and probably will steal the show.
Keith Lee.
Yeah.
What can you say about Keith Lee?
He's great. He's wonderful. I appreciate his enthusiasm, his charisma, his looks.
I
the
like
way in
his
which he moves
balance.
in the ring.
I like his balance of being like big and cuddly,
Yeah.
and that doesn't take away from his absolute badassery.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the perfect balance.
I love that the sell that he got from Lesnar is still makes me happy.
It's just those little rubs sometimes that really
little
add
rub.
up.
Yeah.
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 And he was the opening match of NXT the first night they went on USA. That is still
That's right, I
something
keep
that stands
forgetting
out
that.
to me.
Was it
Right.
the same match? Was it he and Dijak?
Might have been.
Dijakovic? Yeah, they always have to change their names when they get up to the show. So he was simply Dijak on the Indies. And where they usually want to take people's names away,
Like Murphy.
this time they added 15. Yeah,
Right.
they added 15 ingredients for whatever reason. But so it sounds like we're also all saying Keith Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Now here's where it starts getting interesting. Finn Balor versus Johnny Gargano.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
They've built up Finn Balor as a really good heel, and
sure have.
I feel like that is going to continue to keep rolling.
What?
I think Finn Balor is going to beat
Keep
him.
rolling.
Rolling pin cookies.
Yeah.
I hear exactly what
Come
you're saying, Mark. There's a lot of different ways to look at wrestling, obviously. And one of the ways I look at it, in fact, there's a little cute aside. One of my very favorite cousins, who unfortunately passed fairly young, introduced me to more of like wrestling logic. So I was already a kid who liked wrestling. But I remember he said to me, after Macho Man turned good to save Hogan way back when like the Mega Powers were first being created, I remember he said to me, Macho Man's going to be the next world champion. And I remember going, that doesn't make any sense. Like, he's not going to fight with Hogan. But he saw like why
Wrestling
those things
logic,
were happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've come to realize that it's okay to make a hot heel lose repeatedly without them losing heat. You can't do the same with a face. I mean, they try, but look what happens with Roman Reigns.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So I think that, yeah, they're absolutely building Finn into this just almighty heel, and I love what they're doing with him. But Gargano is going to, I think, be a tiny little bit of a hard sell to people on the main shows, not because he's not amazing, because he is, but he is on the small end of even the smaller guys.
Yeah.
He may need wins against super heels. So I think Gargano will personally win, but for the same reasons that you think Finn will, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Gotta look at this guy's name quick. Sorry, I'm thinking of somebody's name. Oh, yeah. That's the exact person that I was thinking of.
Who?
Gargano. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, Johnny
'Cause
Wrestling?
Yeah, Johnny Wrestling. Because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God, this guy. Yeah, no. I'm on the same page. Yeah. I was exactly the same thing. Because I was like, I would say the same thing about this guy that I'm thinking of, Johnny Wrestling. Oh, yeah, Gargano.
So you're saying you're on Mark's team or on my team?
Yours.
Ah, okay. So we're both seeing Gargano.
All right, one half of the main event, the NXT Championship between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
I absolutely think Bianca Belair is probably one of the... I'd say she's probably the best person on the microphone in NXT.
Isn't she so fun?
She's fun. Everything about her is just a
Yeah.
natural trash talker and confident that just emanates from her.
You know that one of her catchphrases is from Mean Girls, right?
No, wait, what?
When she had that interview, I don't think it was this week. I think it was a week before, where she was. Charlotte came out, Bianca was talking. Those two talked for a minute, and then Rhea came out, and the three of them were chatting. Well, as soon as Rhea came out, the two of them basically started ignoring Bianca, which is hilarious because she's like kind of freaking out in the background about how mad she is. But she eventually gets in Charlotte's face, and she's like, "You don't even go here."
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a straight rip from the movie, which I love. But yeah, Bianca's one of my absolute faves. And she's got huge things coming her way, per her amazing performance at the Royal Rumble, too. And Rhea's obviously the big project right now, and there's no way she loses the belt right now.
No, there's no way she loses. Plus, that Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair match, which is obviously going to happen.
Yeah.
That's big money.
That
I think
looks good.
I'm predicting it could be a three-way between those two, or those three maybe at Mania.
It could, but I highly doubt they'll do a three-way again.
Yeah.
I think they'll leave it with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair to see what happens. And, if we're even going, we'll wait till we get the WrestleMania predictions.
Sure.
But I think Bianca Belair is the next big thing, easily.
Love.
And since it's Valentine's Day, she is totally my freaking crush, big time.
She's got lips all over her booty and all over her pants and stuff.
Oh, she's just total charisma.
Yeah.
Everything about her style, her mentality.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's just
Perfect
emanating
combination.
confidence.
So athletic, so strong, so fly, so fucking beautiful, so mean, so funny.
Oh,
Like, she's the EST.
I'd take her out for sushi.
She is the best.
I'd take her out for sushi.
And I mean that in a literal sense.
You are so nice.
Okay, well now it seems like a lot of those matches are kind of foregone conclusions.
Yeah.
Not this one. Not the main event.
No, and that's what's tough because you can very easily see Adam Cole retaining the
Baby!
title. Even if you think back to IPW, in the sense that the last two events, members of DTA have lost their title. And I'm not 100% sure Aaron Orion's going to be at Tough Luck, but you got to imagine he's going to be holding on to the belt here for a little bit because he is a branded guy. He's a top guy. And when you think of a guy like Adam Cole, with the amount of people that are behind him,
Who's he going against?
Tommaso Ciampa.
Ciampa.
That's the hard part, is that was Tommaso's title. And this is his first...
He never lost it.
No, he never lost it. He had to relinquish it.
Same thing, Valor.
So, again, one has to believe Tommaso Ciampa is going to leave NXT TakeOver with the world title.
Oh,
Why is that? Why do you say that?
Well, just because it's the ultimate comeback story. They built it up and they built it up. But, you know what? I think as much as one would be able to believe that because he's worked and I think Adam Cole's going to take that match.
So I'm thinking that
to continue to build that rivalry.
I hear that. I don't agree with it. I think that if the opening match is going to lose the tags for the Cats, what's it called? The Broserweights are going to take that up from the Undisputed. I think that's going to be the same thing with Cole. He's going to drop the belt at the end of the night as well. And then the Undisputed Era is going to climb their ranks over to the Fox. I think that it's going to be and then that's going to be the crowning moment for Ciampa, for him to say, hey, guess what? You came back, you did this. And that's going to be also a snub to Finn Balor, which, by the way, Seth Rollins, you ruined 2 careers.
A lot of people consider Ciampa to be the best ever NXT World Champion. And I don't have a problem with that statement. I mean, there's been a lot of good ones. I'd put him right on par with whomever. I like Samoa Joe's title reigns a lot. I love that dude. But his whole thing was like, he named the title Goldie. Like he had a personal relationship with the belt. And he's also the one who said, if you ever try to put me on those main shows, I will retire and I will become a manager for you, but I will not wrestle on those shows. He said this a while ago. And I'm thinking, T, I could agree with what you're saying. It would be cool to see Undisputed Era run rampant on the main shows, but none of us have any faith that they would do it correctly.
No.
And they're trying to make NXT a legitimate third brand, so I would love to see them stay there.
Yeah.
So really, the idea of leaving doesn't affect me one way or the other. If it's not in this match, I think Ciampa does become their world champion again. I think Adam Cole has that HBK push, a.k.a. they look exactly alike. So HBK's got all kinds of vicarious living to do.
He's just a sexy boy.
God, they both are. It's like that movie Looper. Did you ever see that? It's exactly what it's like.
Bruce Willis.
But so, yeah, I think Adam Cole has a lot more push behind him than we may realize. And so I think, isn't this what your point was, Mark? You think Adam Cole's holding it?
I want to say he's holding it, but
Ciampa,
again,
maybe?
I'm not going to be surprised if Ciampa wins the title because I could very much see what T is talking about, and that's have Undisputed Era run rampant into WrestleMania and then come out and be a part of the main brand.
I see it as a total 50-50, and I'll say Adam Cole just because of how things have been going. I'll stick with Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all watch the XFL match?
I have not seen XFL yet.
No.
But basically from what I've seen, football fans love it. Wrestling and football fans love it because it's basically NFL, but they're allowed to make dangerous hits on each other. So
Cool.
I wonder. I really wish
That
I
was
could
sarcasm.
get I really wish I could get an inside look at the disclaimers that they have to sign or the waivers because they have to.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it interesting, though, again, like the way that they do their spin control stuff? CTE has been on the forefront of everybody's minds since the Benoit issue, right?
Yeah.
And then Chris Nowitzki had to retire super young because of the same issue. So they've been anti-concussion.
Will Smith made a movie about that.
Yeah.
And now, though, we're going to throw money at people to smash each other way harder than they already did it in the NFL. So it's just another interesting, it's really important over here, but we're not going to make it important on this side.
Yeah, it's total opposite of what they've been talking about. And, John Oliver made a point about this on his show. And again, that's why I really wonder about these disclaimers, like in these waivers that they've clearly got to sign.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the hits some of these dudes are taking. That would be, a lot of them would be an ejection.
Really?
Easily. It would be targeting the head, you're out.
Oh, it's okay. So it's like that kind of stuff. I'm sitting here thinking, when XFL, and I've mentioned this before, is that when XFL came out back in the day, and I think this was the thought process of everybody, it was like NFL Blitz. You were like, oh, I'm going to play NFL Blitz for the 64.
I remember you saying, I want suplexes, I want clotheslines.
Yeah.
It's similar in a sense that they can just, run rampant and, go, I saw one dude scoring a touchdown, the whole team's getting up there and dancing and celebrating, and, there was a lady with a microphone that walked up and put the mic in the dude's face, and he like talks some shit as he scored.
Word.
So it's very, very basketball-esque.
It's the
where
okay.
they're all doing the Irish jig in the end zone.
You know what I just thought of?
Oh.
That makes a lot of sense. The way you're describing, T, what you wanted out of XFL, I was just sitting here thinking, like, would it be possible to take a legitimate sporting event where they're really competing, but then also inject small elements of role play?
Yeah.
So, like, they do a certain play, and then if you were the one who got tackled, like, okay, fine, you get up and you pretend to have this wrestling piece. American Gladiators was a lot like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was a legit contest, but they were absolutely playing these, like, comic book characters.
Yeah. You can watch
Like-
it free on Pluto TV.
Yes, you can watch it free on Pluto TV. Not a sponsor.
That might suggest that nobody's willing to pay to watch it because it's not the best thing in the world.
It's great. Well, I mean, I was thinking of the same vein of like what kind of thing, like for example, American Gladiators, yes, but I was also thinking about arena football.
Oh, okay.
But y'all have seen what's it called? Super Troopers? No. Starship Troopers. That's the one.
Yes.
With what's his face? The guy from the How I Met Your Mother, and he's wearing a suit all the time. Neil Patrick Harris. So yeah, that movie. There's one cut to a situation in which the guy like running down the field. He's playing arena football, does a front flip over a guy into the end zone, and it's just this showmanship and all this excitement, all this enthusiasm. That's the kind of thought process that I was kind of thinking for, like I was saying with the NFL Blitz with the XFL. There does need to be that level of showmanship. And there was also a what's it called? Movie that had chess in it.
Bobby
Okay.
Fischer?
No. there was a movie that had a chess scene in it in which there was two chess pieces that when they interacted with one another, they had to fight actually in that scene. And then at the end of that fight, whoever the dominant chess piece was that was winning, say it was the black piece coming across and then tackling a white piece, they had a fight scene. Maybe it was something. I don't know. I'm referencing
Sounds like
something.
Harry Potter, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe Harry Potter. But
Maybe
I
Harry
can't
Potter? I haven't seen it.
So am I correct in hearing you say that your perfect situation for XFL would be kind of like a Harry Potter magical chess game where the moving parts attack each other?
But with wrestlers, yeah.
Who were the wrestlers?
That'd be perfectly fine. If XFL did that,
That
I'd
is
be
a true
totally fine
window.
with that.
That's a true window into the mind of T right there. Like, knowing you the way I know you, like that is a real glimpse into how T is
Beautiful.
how your marbles order themselves. That's
Here's the thing:
fantastic.
if you're going to change the sport, change the sport. Don't try and make it so it's more dangerous. Make it more theatrical and make it more fun. Don't make it something that we're screaming into for blood. Make it into something where it's like, oh, okay, we understand the humor here. We understand the level of poking fun. I would love a satirical look at football through wrestling. And
Yeah.
leave me alone.
Well,
WrestleMania pointing
yeah.
season.
yes. They're building up to WrestleMania pretty quickly here. It's starting to look like we know.
Is Sting coming back?
I don't know.
I hope
there was
not.
I'm
there was
hearing-
there was something about him possibly fighting Undertaker, but now they're saying it might be AJ versus
Yeah.
the Undertaker, which is
Really?
pretty cool on paper.
I heard Cena,
And who?
Undertaker.
Didn't they do that last year?
No.
No, it was a couple years ago.
No, I don't think he was there last year.
Yeah, I remember Cena was in the crowd. And
Oh
then
my
he-
God!
Yeah, it was the
what? I bought
Undertaker.
my ticket.
He got out and he squashed him in like 90 seconds. Undertaker squashed him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was last
See,
year.
like
Gotcha.
I said, at the,
Well, heard that it was happening again.
I
it's similar
really
to the
doubt it. It was
Goldberg
terrible.
once you cooled Goldberg's Jets, it didn't matter anymore. It was the same thing with The Undertaker in WrestleMania. Once Brock beat him, it didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
He could have retired, and that was it. But he kept going. And then when they put him up against, against, who was it? Bray Wyatt. I was like, wait a minute. This should have been the one.
Wait, who against Bray Wyatt? Undertaker.
Undertaker. I was
Wait.
like, this should have been the one, because you had this phenom in Bray Wyatt, I'm sorry,
Goldberg.
no, not Goldberg. No, Goldberg's.
I need you to start over. I'm confused.
So
Braun.
when Goldberg lost at Starrcade to Kevin Nash, Goldberg's
Oh, way back when. Sorry.
career became. Goldberg's 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 career became. Gold
Yeah,
At that point,
flatlined, insignificant, because you just beat the man who held the title streak, and then you just spit all over
Let's
him.
be fair. He lost a lot of his steam, but to say that he was he had 5 more years of his career.
Oh, well, that's the thing, though. But
Nothing.
It wasn't.
He was
it wasn't
nothing.
Even, it wasn't even that he lost. It was that he was squashed.
Yeah.
The next few weeks, NWO came out there and made him look like a punk.
Soon after,
They're hitting
there
him
was
with the taser.
Yep.
Luger had him in the torture rack. They just squashed the shit.
Spray
out of
painted him.
Well, and I've heard people talk about it, and it kind of does make sense if you think about it. It's a hard one because they messed up by pushing him as hard as they did anyway.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to come back from that. But in order to do it, they would have to remove his superhuman quality and replace it with sympathy. So they needed 50 people to beat him up to make it believable.
Yeah.
Except that there was no way to do it well.
Right.
At that point, so it was never going to happen.
And I feel like with the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, when Brock beat him, I was like, well, okay, that's it. Like now it's done. The whole point was that he was undefeated at WrestleMania. So what's the significance when you've built it that he's undefeated? Now, granted, yes, a streak of or a record of 25-1. That's incredibly impressive.
Yeah,
But
we're
you're
not taking away from
it,
that.
You're not building it on how many wins versus losses he had. You were building it on he was undefeated. So when he was defeated, it was like, well, then there's nothing special about beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's true. Well, then again, though, he's been, opinions vary, but I would say athletically speaking, he's been past his prime for ages.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But if you go back to Goldberg, when his streak was broken, he was still a muscle monster. So his streak was about wins, but it was also about being unstoppable.
Right, exactly.
And the only way they did it was with the cattle prod, so he still seemed unstoppable, whereas The Undertaker really was just about the win-loss streak eventually.
Right. So when he faced Bray Wyatt, I was actually kind of pissed because this was after the Goldberg loss. I was like, this was after the Brock Lesnar loss. I was like, they really should have passed that on to Bray Wyatt because look at who he has literally taken the Fiend. And obviously the Fiend wasn't a wrestler back then, but you had Bray Wyatt, who was already this charismatic, he was the new Phenom of the WWE.
Oh yeah.
He became the Phenom with the Wyatt family, and
this still annoys me that he wasn't the one to win. That would have been the absolute most logical, perfect handoff.
Yeah.
It really would have.
Yeah,
and that's what pissed me off because Brock Lesnar was just like, God, you picked the wrong person. And again,
he certainly didn't need a rub to look like a monster.
Just imagine for a minute, and you think of like the aftermath with Brock Lesnar beating The Undertaker. What did it do to Brock Lesnar's career? It didn't do anything.
No.
It didn't do anything. It was just another thing to stack on top of him. Like, I beat The Undertaker.
It's a hat on a hat.
If you think, yeah, exactly. And you think of what it would have done for Bray Wyatt's career and what could have done to his character, what they could have done with that whole thing, where maybe he absorbed, or, I'm just like spitballing here, but you're talking about phenom wrestlers here. I don't know. There's worlds of things that you could have done.
AJ Styles is a phenomenal one.
Indeed. Indeed.
Maybe that'll be the angle, It's like, you're not the only phenom.
Stop it.
You're not the only phenom in town, Undertaker.
You can't take your dibs.
I'm a phenomenal Southern man, and
He's going to wear purple.
Hey, it's phenomenal.
Hey.
I'm just over it,
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's
I don't care if he's the Undertaker at this point. He's too old.
Well, when he did that, when he
too
did the Stone
old.
Cold podcast, I was like, okay, you don't have to be the Undertaker anymore. You're clearly Mark Calloway.
Well,
he did that interview as Mark Calloway.
I didn't watch that.
It's
on
over.
Purpose.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, it's like, it's over. You're done being the Undertaker, clearly.
You can't say it's still real to me, damn it, after you watch that one.
Yeah,
There is no pulling those curtains back together.
Oh, no.
You're exposed.
I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, like you said, it's the illusion is over. And at the end of the day, I'll always say that Undertaker should have lost to Bray Wyatt because I would have done way more for Bray Wyatt's career than it even did it didn't even do anything for Brock Lesnar.
Right.
It was just like, whatever, I beat him.
Think about how they kept using him. They had Randy Orton, who was already massively over and concreted as one of their top people, with an asterisk. I would contribute personally. But he's the one who got into that weird storyline with Bray, and it did make sense because Orton is such a creep.
Yeah.
that he would wind up in the Wyatt family. I happen to like the build up to WrestleMania, and it gets panned universally. Everybody hated that whole thing. I thought it was cool when Orton came out to his cabin. They had their own like version of the Hardy compound fight ish,
Yeah.
but I liked it personally. I liked it when Orton burned his cabin down, but when they got to Mania and they had the maggots and whatever, like the magic ring, ruined it. So Orton didn't need that rub. Why do you have to use this awesome younger character to do that? And then the same with the Undertaker later. It's like, this guy's got so much quality. You don't have to use him to keep rubbing people who don't need the rub.
Right.
I think that is something that is a big problem that I have with WWE, and that's something that I think we've spoken on before. It's the idea that we keep putting energy and effort into people that don't need it. We keep giving the attention, we keep giving all this excitement to people that don't deserve and or need it anymore. It's Brock Lesnar getting all of this attention for beating The Undertaker. Dude was done and over already, and we already hated him. We hated him more. Great, wonderful, move on. Same aspect with Randy Orton. And Randy Orton, like you just said, was already over, had already established himself. We need to stop giving too much attention to these guys who already are something, and we need to make sure that we're able to promote and bring up the folks from the underside of the card.
Right.
But
And see, that's the issue again. I don't need to hang on to this for too long, but there's a logical progression of looking at wrestling and going, okay, so why do they keep pushing Orton? Why are they continuing to push The Undertaker?
and if it sells, it sells. I get it.
And that's
but-
exactly what I was just going to say is they have all this marketing. They have too many toys. They have too many Halloween masks, too many clothing items out there with those names. They have to keep pushing them because those are their advertising for the products.
Yeah.
I get it, but I think that that's a kind of a detriment. What you're doing
Oh,
is
no, I'm
you're
saying it's a complete detriment.
Yeah, you're using evidence that it's like a post hoc fallacy. You're using what has already been consistently proven to work as a means to justify furthering your efforts. If you printed something of Randy Orton 5 years ago and then use that as your evidence as to why he's successful now and why he should continue to do that, that right there is kind of self-defeating to anyone who is walking in or trying to start off on the new because they don't have that 5-year push from 3 years or 5 years back.
Right.
It's new metrics, new understandings, new estimations need to be put in motion, but the problem is that we keep giving these older folks the same goddamn attention.
Yep. And again, that's the cycle. Is,
Grumble.
well, we have to because of the money, and eventually it becomes we can't make more money without new stars. Yeah, but we don't have all these toys or a built-in market for the new stars, so we have to go back to the old stars. And God bless it, because AEW was born out of it.
Yeah.
They keep coming back.
I really don't think that...
They created the necessity with their own incompetence.
I really don't think that Sting should come back. I love him. I really do. I just don't think he should come back. I don't think Undertaker should come back. I love him. I really do. I just don't.
I love my memories of them.
And that's what I'm saying. When he lost to Triple H and DX and NWO was in the ring, I was like, okay, you did it. You're here. You did it. It's over.
You didn't even need that.
He didn't. Nope. He really didn't. It's but afterwards I was like, okay, best to you. It's cool. Like, what a moment. DX and NWO in the ring. Right. Everybody looks old as fuck.
I was going to say, it sucks because, I hope none of us are, vain enough to actually care what a wrestler looks like. But again, we're looking at wrestling through the wrestling lens.
Right.
And we have memories of HBK looking a certain way. Well, and then to see him look how he looks today in the ring, I was like, oh, man, I don't think I needed to see that.
Right. Well, yeah, you don't want to look at him and go, wait, who's that? Oh, I remember you.
Look like HBK's dad.
So it's not to be mean or degrading to them in any way, shape, or form. It's the fact that,
people age.
People age.
But they're also products in this regard. And it's
right.
It's
like, I don't give a shit how old you look. I mean, Ric Flair looked old as hell, but the match he had with HBK at WrestleMania was a great match. He sold it, and HBK was the perfect guy to end that streak for him.
Just let us remember you, damn it.
And even likewise afterwards when he was in TNA.
Don't die in the ring.
Even when he was in TNA, he has some of my favorite moments, just speaking moments from TNA, because he was almost senile.
But again, that's not in the ring. That's not somebody that's like wrestling. I mean, yeah, right. Ric Flair's wrestling in TNA and doing all that, but I mean,
shouldn't have been.
If you give him a mic, he'll be able to handle it. That's why I'm okay if you come back, but be on the mic. Be somebody that's we're giving the rub in another fashion, pushing somebody so that they have the ability to get their own platform or their own voice. I mean, a good friend of ours, Jake, I have been pushed. I said it a little while ago. He said it a little while ago. He was saying that Ric Flair should come over to AEW, have a full-out Four Horsemen reunion. I'd be all about it. We'd all be all about it. But we would say not to have him on the mic. We would have him as a manager. That would be amazing. That would be dope. But again, don't put them in the goddamn ring.
Well, it's the same thing with Hogan. Like, Hogan looks like he's in great shape, and oh man, he's ready to get back in the ring. I'm like, Homeboy has like 9 vertebrae that are like sealed together with fucking titanium.
If he hasn't had both his hips replaced, he's going to. But yeah,
and it's
isn't
just
it weird? Like we've all made fun of the atomic leg drop forever because it's just a leg drop. But when you're that big and you weigh that much and you do it however many 300 times a year for however many years in a row.
Oh yeah.
Like even that kind of stuff just really takes the wear and tear on you.
Yeah.
Hogan's the one that always jumps to mind for me is the guy who just wouldn't let it go. You know, like he's never stopped tanning. He clearly still hanging and banging in the gym.
Yeah.
He looks more and more like a hot dog every year. It's like, dude, it would be so nice if you could just finally relax. Yeah. But I don't think, what's it going to look like when that balloon deflates? I have no idea. Man, you might have to just keep hanging and banging forever.
I just don't think that's something that'll end for him. I think for some guys it's just hard to let go.
He's just gonna.
It's hard to.
Yeah.
You know,
is Arnold Schwarzenegger still working out?
I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
Send him a message. What are you doing?
But have you ever seen? Not to get way too off topic. Have you ever seen the documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster?
Oh yeah.
It's
a great Eminem song.
It documents the use of steroids in America, and the main focal point is professional wrestling.
Oh, really?
How these 3 brothers grew up watching people like the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan.
But a lot of the focus on it, it's not to demonize, but nor is it to argue in favor.
It's just to
like,
present.
Here's doctors talking about the fact that, it has a lot of medicinal properties for helping to heal. Here's the brother who's using it, and he never made it. He's the guy that wouldn't give up his dream. He's a big dude.
Passed away.
But he wound up having like some anger problems and stuff as well. And I don't know that it was from steroids, but it wasn't helping.
Mike Bell, he ended up passing away. He was on TV for WWE. He moved to California to pursue professional wrestling afterwards, and it never worked out. He ended up passing away I think a few years after the completion of the documentary. But it was, and it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's like, actually Mike Bell was in that one match with Perry Saturn where he fucking botched a couple of moves and Saturn threw him right on his fucking head outside the ropes. It was bad.
Like because he was mad at him for messing up?
Yeah. Ooh. He grabbed him and threw him outside of the ring. He landed right on the ground, right on his fucking head.
Yeah.
Didn't get hurt, didn't get paralyzed or anything. Neither of them did, but it was pretty bad. He was pretty stiff to work with. But that's the main focal point of the entire film is, centered around steroid use and how it can be helpful in some cases, but debilitating in others. And it's just kind of like one of those things. But again, I just don't, you see guys like Jake the Snake Roberts who are just naturally healing themselves through proper eating, doing the DDP yoga and getting in shape.
When he gets that feeling, he needs some natural healing.
High five, yeah.
Bang!
Every time I go to the doctor or whenever I need like a extra little kick for getting over a cold, they give a steroid or whatever. And every time I ask him, so I'm going to hulk up and lose my balls, right? And he's like, nah, son, you'll be just fine. I said, okay.
Yeah, not that little shot you want. What are some other matches that are possibilities that we would like to see at Mania? Have you been given any thought to this?
What's that?
Some matches you would like to see at WrestleMania that they may or may not be building towards already, but that you've thought this year, like that match should happen.
So one that I saw a plug for, nowhere actually real, but more so by the voice of someone that I've been watching for years. Adam Blampier used to be on What Culture before they shifted over to Cultaholic. And he now works for Wrestle Talk, and he did a series of videos back in the day about predictions and how he would book certain things. One of the things that he had mentioned that really struck my interest was a match between, and it's not going to happen, but a match between Velveteen Dream and The Fiend. And
oh man!
how that would be wonderful. And he kept pushing it, and everyone who knows me knows that I'm a fan of Prince, and he had said that it would be just a bat dance video all over the place.
Oh,
and I think that
man.
would be wonderful. I think that, and Lauren, a friend of ours, said the lighting on that would just be glorious.
Oh yeah, that
Instead
would
of
be
the
dope.
red, they could go to purple.
Yeah.
You know, I was just thinking in that scenario, because Velveteen does do a lot of those lights on, lights off appearing stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little bit in the superhero realm.
Yeah.
I could see him almost doing like a Deadpool sort of vibe, like approach to superheroing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that happen. That's kind of
Yeah.
a fun idea.
If it wasn't for the fact of Braun Strowman taking the IC title, I would have loved to see Shinsuke Nakamura go up against Ricochet.
I'm sorry. Say that again. Braun Strowman is
Braun
currently
Strowman
the
is the
IC.
He has
Intercontinental
been for a while.
champion.
I've been out of it apparently because I did not realize that. Wow.
So,
As a member of a prominent wrestling podcast, it might behoove you to
Be in the loop
Watch
a
a
little
little
bit more
wrestling.
apparently. Wow. Like I apparently just completely overlooked that. Wow.
Yeah, that's been a while. But that's the thing. They don't put any emphasis. It just happened on a random SmackDown.
Is it probably
Right,
going to be on a
right.
pre-show for WrestleMania too?
Yeah, no
Because like
shit.
it's been in the
If at all,
past. Because
yeah.
that's what happened with Dolph Ziggler and what's his name, The Miz.
You know what sucks about that? Listen to the faction that he's beating up on. It's Sami Zayn as the mouthpiece
Yeah.
with Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro in that team. That's like an absolute goddamn dream team. And they're just feeding them to the human tractor. Does he call himself the Meat Castle? The human Meat Castle?
nice.
Throw Rusev in there, and you've got, what's it called? What was that faction that they had years ago that was all about the International Coalition or something?
Oh,
along
yeah,
those
it was
lines?
he and Sheamus and
Yeah.
a couple others.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Some version of the anti-un-American something or other.
I'd be fine with the tear of that across this. If Sheamus joined up with everybody, having Rusev and Cesaro, the Swiss Superman,
With
and-
Cyborg.
and Shinsuke, I mean, yeah. Yeah. And then just have Sami Zayn as their mouthpiece forever. Just no one talks is totally fine.
I'm ultra stoked all of a sudden on watching Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler fight at Mania.
Oh, yeah.
Did either of
Yeah.
you see any of the footage of that angle they just did on Raw? It's pretty wild.
She ate her face.
Yeah.
No, it was her neck. It was the
Her
back of her
neck.
neck.
Vampire.
Yeah, she took her mouthpiece out and did this whole show. Almost like how Dunn was going to bite Joey Ryan's dick in that Riptide video.
Yep.
Took the mouthpiece out and was like, okay.
I'll do it.
It was weird. Yeah, you've never seen anybody do it quite like that. She went for the back of her neck, so her face was kind of hidden in the hair. Come on, that was definitely gigged. Like she's not biting her hard enough to make
Right,
that blood,
right.
but it was the right spot to do it
Yeah.
because it's like it's just all mixed in the hair at that point. And then Becky, of course, stole an ambulance to take herself to the hospital, a la Stone Cold. But yeah, the way they're building that up is already like, yep, I'm in. I think that's gonna be fun.
Yep.
Shayna Baszler's going to take it.
I hope so.
I don't.
I would be surprised actually. Not at Mania. Maybe the one after. Maybe the next night.
Backlash.
Or the next Mania. Or
Backlash.
the next,
Backlash was always the post-Mania event. Sorry.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
Becky's the new Hogan for the women's division, at least for
Basically.
a while. So I think she's gonna win that one.
And she's basically got the same talent.
Oh, get out, dude. Mark, we're going to have a talk at some point about these gross overgeneralizations you make. Becky Lynch has more than 3 moves and a finger point.
Did you ever see Hogan wrestle in Japan?
Yeah.
He actually could wrestle.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I never understood. I was like, why?
Why?
It was almost-
Why?
I
I've
mean,
got an
maybe
answer.
it's-
Why
Me too.
work hard?
You're
Yeah.
going to give me $7
Well,
million
same with,
a year to sit down on your face kind of fast. And by all means, I'll just do that and don't make me do anything else.
It was the same thing with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think he had to change his wrestling style to fit his personality.
Yeah.
Because he did way more technical moves back when he was in WCW.
He was the ringmaster, for God's
Yeah.
sake.
This is my ring.
He was the master of rings.
You can't be in this ring. This is my ring.
You could almost refer to him as a lord of rings.
God.
Oh my God! I saw a promo today with.
I've not seen that.
Jesus.
I've
Get
not seen
the
any
fuck
of
out of
those.
here.
Yeah.
Man, you're interesting. You would be fascinating on my couch.
I saw a promo with the cyborg. Is that who it was? Or who was John Cena's original thing?
Oh, the prototype.
The prototype.
The prototype.
He's all standing
Yeah.
machine-like. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It's been a while. It was just cracking
He had
me
that
up.
ridiculous bleached like hockey puck
Oh,
acorn military
so
haircut.
bad.
Yeah,
Looks
pretty
like such a
rough.
knucklehead.
But he was young and he was a beast. Yeah, he was another guy who,
Oh, yeah,
he
he
started bodybuilding in high school, and he's just,
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
All right. Well, let's get into our new segment here. And now it's time for Pro Wrestling Deep Cut Story Time with Davison Sarai.
Okay.
Yeah.
After last week's rousing success of story time, T, you weren't here for it, so I'm really excited that you're here for today's edition.
Yes.
Pull up your chairs,
Grab a cup
get
of cocoa.
comfy, maybe some Kleenex. You never know how story time with Davison's going to go. This week, I want you to imagine many, many, many years ago, there was a boy. His father was a very powerful man, a king. And the boy never wanted anything more than to win the love and affection of his powerful father. Now, he didn't know how to win this man's affection. He was a powerful man. He was a serious man. He was impervious to, I don't know, whatever. Pain, I suppose. So this boy, he languished and he languished and he tried to find ways to win his father's love and affection. And eventually he decided, I will join the family business. I will learn everything he knows. And eventually I will impress him, even if I have to best him. And through years and years of work, that's exactly what had to happen. He eventually took the crown from his father, making himself the new king. Now, he wasn't satisfied to just be the king of his own kingdom. He decided he had to take over the entire landscape. And once he did this, he was free to create his own kingdom in whatever fashion he chose. Now, this boy was growing, and he often felt small and powerless as a child. So he became fixated on giants. He loved big, powerful beings. And so he found a way to create them. When he took over his father's industry, he was also given the secret to a magic potion that, when taken by athletes, took them from status of men and made them gods and giants. And there was a problem. Much like Icarus flying too close to the sun and melting the wings, you could take this magic potion and it would make you an immortal, but it will also shorten your life dramatically. That didn't change our man from creating a whole army of giants, and as predicted, most of them died way too young. Eventually, one of the court jesters for this king came back with a handful of new toys, and the king was thrilled. There was one that reminded him of a snake. There was one that reminded him of Leviathan. There was one that seemed like a prototype of some kind of future muscular wrestler. And there were two gophers. The beauty of the situation is that the king never saw this coming. He was so used to creating these giants that he lost track of the fact that some people simply were. And all of a sudden, what he'd been trying to create for decades, he had two of right in front of him. One was named Batista, and one was named John Cena. They were the chosen ones, and they were set on a path to create their own legacies, make their own kingdoms, wear their own crowns. And so they were planned to go to the biggest battle of the year, the Rumble, and it was in the year 2005. These two had been hand-selected to be the next leaders, and this year, Batista had been picked. He was perfectly set up, written for. He'd had the crowd finally buy into him by working with Triple H and Evolution for the longest time, and now he was to win. And the match was going perfectly according to plan, and it came down to the last three people, and the third one to go over the ropes was a dastardly heel known as the Ultimate Opportunist. He was thrown over the ropes and eliminated from the battle. And from his vantage point, he would have you know that looking up into the ring, he saw the future kings battling, and he saw Cena attempt to hit what was at the time called the FU, and later clean up for the kids and called the Attitude Adjustment. And Batista managed to break away, and then Batista managed to pick up Cena for his finishing move, which was a power bomb. But here was the problem. Even though they didn't use the magic powers to become giants, they were both pretty young to their craft, and they were clumsy. And so Batista showed his fatal weakness, which was a lack of balance. And when he took Cena up for the powerbomb, oh, did they mess up. And they both careened over the ropes, falling to the concrete at the exact same time. And there was a gasp of horror from the entire kingdom. Not necessarily from the audience, but by the jesters and the court, because they knew there was trouble a-brewing. And sure enough, even though these two were being pegged to be the new kings, all of a sudden the lights started to flicker. Thunder clouds began to amass. There was lightning striking, and the doors flew open, and out came a red-eyed, smoke-breathing monster of a king, storming towards the ring. He's going to take his revenge. He'd watched for decades as he tried to create his dream kingdom, and he was inches away, and these two clumsy buffoons had ruined it for him. He was coming, then he was going to cause destruction. And referee Jimmy Cordero said he looked up and said, I almost shit my pants when I saw Vince McMahon coming towards the ring in his power walk. And Edge says, I saw him coming, and I said, holy shit, what's he going to do? And if you'll recall, the king, in his mad power and used to his years of glory and complete dominance, fell victim to his own weakness. He'd also been using the magic elixir for years and never told anybody. And as such, his old knees were weak. He dove into the ring and bashed both patella tendons. He severed one of his thigh muscles and it rolled up in the skin towards his groin. He attempted to stand on one foot, obviously in excruciating pain, and he blew the other leg out. He had a double quad tear in one spot, and any athlete would tell you it's an absolute nightmare scenario that no one would ever want to endure. This old king was so anger-driven and so bloodthirsty, he couldn't stand, so he just sat. He just sat there in front of a horrified, confused crowd, in front of his trembling court of people who were surely going to die if they said or did the wrong thing, a.k.a. Paul London, and various other people. And he sat, and in his infinite power and horror, he still held court. And his giant, muscle-bound future kings got back in the ring, and they were told how this was going to go. And the angry old king on his two busted wheels refused help because, damn it, I'm not going to be weak. And apparently, according to stories, just like Triple H blew a quad and walked all the way back to the locker room on his own feet, the Mad King supposedly did it on both without any help. And people were so horrified that the rest of the match went absolutely perfectly, with Batista winning and both of their careers going exactly as planned, save that one night when the Mad King had to take matters into his own hands, and he paid the price with two smashed legs to keep his kingdom together for one more night. There you go.
Yay!
Well done.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Very
beautiful
well done.
execution.
You guys remember what a shit show that was?
Oh my
Yeah.
God! He came down storming. He threw his jacket off. Motherfucker!
That's why I don't walk like that. I'm afraid.
Oh
He looked
my
like he was
gosh.
heading to Rocky Johnson's funeral. Pounding the pavement with a fury. He should have blown his legs at the other one so he can get up there.
Man.
So,
And then walked back.
telling you.
That was fucking story time with Davison Sarai. Feel
That's
every
right.
piece.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
All
I
right.
was actually gonna talk about the time Vader got arrested and put in Kuwaiti jail for almost beating up a
God.
newscaster. But
Oh yeah, I saw that.
that might
Yep.
be a dangling participle for next time. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right.
Indeed. Well,
Check
let's
those
get into
participles.
the main topic here. Just going to go around the table because we're feeling positive this week. It's Valentine's Day. We're just going
Gee,
to discuss our favorite wrestlers, matches, and feuds of all time. And
Wrestling is my longest love.
indeed.
It's not even ironic. It's a true statement.
Yeah.
Tacos are mine.
It's probably,
That's cute.
I honestly, between music and wrestling are the two things that I've been a part of my entire life. It's really weird.
Yeah. I've been watching for either 36 or 37 years.
That's insane.
I know.
Rock and roll.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
though.
awesome.
Like that many years of watching wrestling. It's,
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, there's so many incredible wrestlers that continue to spawn today. And when you look back at it, I think there's just some truly unique characters that have come along and some really unique people along the way that changed wrestling and have done a lot for the business, and it's very easy for us to sit and criticize something that takes a lot of skill and something that you know. It's very easy to criticize, but man, even just being in that ring, you feel kind of special and a little bit humbled because you know, fuck around and you're gonna get paralyzed.
Isn't it magic though? Like being in a ring, like after all these years of watching all the magic happen, it just feels like surreal.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
Yeah.
It's
in the best way.
Yeah, it really is. And I think if you're gonna talk about just personal favorite wrestlers, in just like all around what with in-ring performances, commentary,
just
on the mic skills in general.
I brought it up earlier. I was like, it is easy again to kind of fall into bitching about all things wrestling. We all love wrestling so much. Obviously, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
So why not just deep dive into our love of things? And Mark, playing on what you said a minute ago, you said, different people who we've been into, different angles maybe that have changed the industry.
Yeah.
I was thinking because this has been such a massive cornerstone of my media consumption and beyond that, really my life. I think I kind of view the world through some kind of a wrestling lens occasionally, which is weird, but it's probably true. I was thinking a lot of the things I've loved have absolutely shaped me as well.
Yeah.
Like some of those things are very foundational and in specific moments of your life. And it's like, wow, that thing happened at a big point in my life, and it will always be a memory from these big sections of life too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think it's really unique in that, when it comes to, and like I said, we want to talk about wrestlers, matches, and feuds. I'll say it's nothing against. I just have to bring these two people up because individually, they're probably two of the most important people ever in wrestling, and they have one of the most iconic feuds in wrestling history. Not that their matches don't hold up to that. Their matches were phenomenal. They're great, great matches. But I think the feud, the actual feud between them, is what made it so special. Realistically, they didn't have many matches together, but Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock.
Oh wow!
One of the best two individual in terms of on the mic. The Rock because of his over charismatic nature, his cockiness, but with Stone Cold Steve Austin too, where nothing he did seemed fake.
Right.
He seemed generally fucking pissed off.
Which is really amazing because if you look back, he's not realistic. He's if you were that guy in real life, you'd be in prison in about 13 minutes.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
So but he's
it's a
still
product of that time.
But he was so engaging that you knew it was kind of silly and it felt totally real because of the urgency he brought to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the way he spoke on the mic too, especially to The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
You go back to one of my favorite, and it's not even just because of the beer bath when he drove the beer truck out to the ring. It wasn't even just that he hit him with the beer, which was great, because The Rock just goes, tell you what, Stone Cold Jabroni, you come out here and make your idle threats like you're the great one, when clearly you're not. So The Rock says, you take that beer truck and you drive it back. Know your role, Bull. And he just stays in character, even though Stone Cold is like rolling this big hose out. But and then he proceeds to soak him with the beer. But it's how Austin is talking to The Rock, where he is dead fucking serious. Like, it is fucking go time. Next Sunday is WrestleMania, and you better get your ass together because, he was just so passionate and just so on point with that character. Like I said, the matches were great because the payoff was always huge.
Yeah. All three Mania matches are really good.
They really were, and that's what I'm saying is I feel like they had just pure chemistry on the mic, interacting with one another. Even going back to the IC days, when Stone Cold threw The Rock's belt in the
off that bridge.
Yeah, off the bridge, and then The Rock knocked Austin into the Detroit River, and just going back to those days, the whole 316 on the beeper thing was really funny. Just going back to that, it was a natural feud. It was great to see those two battle it out for the IC title and then go on to battle it out for the world title as well.
Obviously, those two as performers will probably never be bested. I mean, they'll always be tied for first.
Yeah.
But even just taking the characters, it's a natural conflict because of working class versus rich and lazy.
Right, exactly.
That was kind of the idea of when he was first The Rock. So, I mean, yeah, the fact that they were amazing and they had such a, like you said, perfectly natural chemistry just because of that opposition. Like, yeah, they were set to succeed from the beginning. Mark and I usually get going on these things when it comes to Attitude Era. Were you a big fan at that point?
Yeah, so my experience, and I think I mentioned a while back, is that when it came down to watching wrestling, I was on two camps, watching at different households. One, my mom's house, we were watching WCW, to my dad's house, watching WWF. So watching those at different times and catching up with the different storylines on a semi-weekly basis, but from different perspectives, because again, watching rated R movies and hardcore, darkness with my father, not really, but just, Dad showing R movies and stuff and cursing, and then Mom watching PG and PG-13 and feeling uncomfortable watching, Titanic. So it's just a different kind of respect to the things that we would watch. So WCW, the fans, the interest that I had with the Attitude Era was with The Undertaker and Kane. That was the feud that got my attention, particularly because of the bad blood, the brothers, just the level of hatred and frustration that was built up in between those two. And then just the remorse that Undertaker was feeling. That whole relationship, that's something that I bought into. That's something that I believed. But then the other side of that same kind of vein, when it was feud-wise, Sting and Flair was the one that got my attention on a regular basis.
I remember you saying Beach Boy Sting was your the big colorful guy.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of Crow Sting and Wolfpack Sting, and I was all about it for a minute, but at the same time, I mean, Surfer Sting with Ric Flair, there was just a genuine appreciation for wrestling and appreciation for the art that was there with Sting and his idol, Ric Flair. So.
When we were kids watching that, and I know like our ages aren't exactly lined up, but we were probably all watching that Clash of Champions, the first one, when they went 45 minutes time limit draw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was probably the most perfect example of that era of us watching the most established talent create his predecessor, not predecessor, but
protege.
Protege.
Yeah.
Even Jim Ross has said on many occasions that the in-ring talent in WCW in the early '90s, he felt far surpassed.
Oh, I would
WWE.
agree. But this was the thing, like, because Sting at that point was highly limited in the ring. And so Flair to get 45 minutes out of him in what's considered a classic match, that match made Sting's whole career, So I don't know. It's just cool to look back and realize, like, now that we understand the mechanics of wrestling, to look back and see how those things are actually playing out.
Again, goes back to that wrestling logic that you were talking about, is that there's a different level of appreciation for wrestling when you can sit back and think about, okay, what's the long-term plan? What's the trajectory of all these folks? What are they trying to do? And why? Like, what is it that they see that I don't? And that's something that's interesting and creative, but when you waste it on a regular basis with dog food and Roman Reigns, it's not something that grabs our attention, or at least grabs our interest.
Not so much. So one of my things, I didn't really have them in order, but I liked Technicolor Sting as well. However, when the movie The Crow came out, that was very exciting for me because I was in high school. I was already getting into like heavier, darker music at the time.
Yeah.
And so when that came out, I mean, that was the blueprint for like a modern goth movie. Like anybody we know who was into like 90s heavier rock, metal kind of goth shit, The Crow was it.
Yeah.
And so, and I already had darker sensibilities anyway. So when the colorful when the colorful Sting was finally like, you all are taking me for granted. I've been here trying to protect you all for all this time. You're just throwing me out because you got these old WWE guys coming in now. Like, I feel totally used.
But it made sense.
Watching him, that whole year and a half of watching him turn into this silent, pissed off guy.
Hanging from the rafters.
On that bird and doing all those. I mean, knowing what we know about Owen
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah,
all of
yeah.
those bungee jumps that Sting did in that
Yeah.
era, absolutely amazing seeing all that stuff. And how cool was it? I mean, there'd be 20 guys in the ring, and they're all beating up the entire roster.
Yeah.
And then boink, here comes Sting on a slinky, and they're horrified.
Oh my God!
'cause he
And the
just
crowd's
raised
just losing their mind.
a baseball bat and just waste it. Like, that was on par for me as when like Stone Cold was in the ring fighting Tyson and his people.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
some
yeah,
of those
absolutely.
images of Sting just laying waste to NWO are super iconic for me.
Yeah.
I think I thought that whole thing was great until Sting started talking, because then it was like it was nothing against his mic
But it took
skills,
away the
but like,
mystique.
Yeah, exactly, it took away the mystique. And then, when he became the Red, like the whole thing,
Oh, the
it was a
Wolfpack?
merchandise thing. It was like a WWE's now. Oh, look,
Dudes.
we got the red and the black. Even like Nash, like I think there was an episode of Nitro I watched where they're at the Silverdome, or no, sorry, they're at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and he's like, "Yeah, we're wearing a new color shirt. That's what's hot in the streets today. The red and black. You can pick your new T-shirts up in the merch." It's just so hokey.
Yeah.
And then
Before you go too far, so
Yeah.
I just heard earlier, and I think it was Nash talking about it, when Sting finally broke his silence after 18, 19 months.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the first thing he said was
No.
after all that time?
No.
Apparently, like, he wanted the camera was right close to him. So as opposed to being on the mic, it was like a Super Bowl moment where you turn and just talk into the
Yeah.
camera. And apparently he said something mamacita and spoke like a little bit of Spanish. And whoever it was talking about it just like lost their ever-loving mind. They're like, I don't have a problem with people speaking Spanish. It had been 19 months. And now you're going to like break the silence. We've been waiting, and you're going to say something like, dude, where's the payoff? You know?
right, exactly.
I don't know. I thought that was really pretty funny. Like, I didn't notice that. And I'm
2
like,
years. You were just
Right.
learning another language. That's what it was.
but let's be honest. I wasn't sitting around. I don't care what he was going to say. I wanted him to beat Hogan for the belt, and he did.
Right,
So it
right.
was like,
That was the important thing.
whatever you say. I don't really
Yeah.
care at this point.
No, it was dope. It was.
Yeah.
I loved that angle.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I don't know. Like another big. I don't know. It's tough when it comes to matches because there is always there's a few matches that I love watching over and over again, just revisiting
Yeah.
just because of just how special they are.
Nostalgia.
And yeah, nostalgia plays into it, but it's like also the importance of the match. And I've gone on record and I've always said that WrestleMania 3 is the best pay-per-view of all time because it pitted an absolute. It was a true passing of the torch. And although I will say Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man was an absolute masterpiece of a match.
That's just as iconic for a lot of wrestling fans and more meaningful
Yeah.
than that main event, which is probably the most iconic objective moment in wrestling history.
Well, and it really set the tone for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I said those two matches. And the funny thing is that IC match wasn't even like the second to last match.
Ooh, that was early.
It was
Yeah.
about
Like
I can't
third or-
remember how
third
many,
or fourth,
12
maybe.
I think there was 12 matches on that card.
Jiminy Crickets.
And I think that was like the 7th or 8th match.
Oh, I'd be surprised. I thought it was like middle of the first half.
Yeah, I thought it was in the
I would have
first
guessed
half.
like third, fourth, fifth, maybe. But
Yeah, I can't recall offhand, but it was the fact that like I said, that particular match for the Intercontinental title was insane because they had Macho Man had the whole thing going right down the list. It was the 9th match out of 12.
it
Oh
was.
my
So-
gosh. All right.
Jeez, I don't remember it that way. That's
No.
interesting.
So it was just interesting how they had that all panned out because it was nearly a 15-minute match. It was the longest match in the card.
And that's funny because they were also going
Wow.
3 times as fast as everybody else.
They were. That
So
was
that was
non-stop
really like
Wow.
action.
a
Yeah.
45-minute match if you slowed it down to
Easily.
Piper versus Adonis speed.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's wild because you think those matches seem longer than they are, but you're really in there. It's slowed down, and that's what, like you had said, they were going super freaking fast, and Savage had that whole thing mapped out move for move.
Yes, he did.
And
yes, he did.
That was, I think, just as incredible. But I will say I always, between that match and Hogan versus Andre, I'll always go back and watch that match, just how important it was that Andre hadn't lost in his entire career, because how do you beat this guy? And just the idea behind it. I don't know if you've ever seen the HBO special about Andre the Giant.
Oh, it's great.
And he just talks about, he's like, I'm going to do what's right. And Hogan's just sweating bullets because the whole time he doesn't know if he's winning or not.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You talk about some funny stories. Andre's stories back in the day. It was like the bookers didn't tell him what was going to happen. They kind of politely suggested some thoughts and asked that maybe he would do them. But there are plenty of stories where he would tell people in the ring, like, not give him any offense. He would almost choke people to death. He'd sit on people till they couldn't, he was always messing with people like
awesome.
that.
Hogan was going to McMahon.
Great.
Hogan was going to McMahon, and he was like, "Are you sure he's going to do it?" And he's like, he said he's going to do it, but they hadn't finished. So he was like, "What do we do?" And Hogan was like, "Give me your notepad." And Hogan spelled the match out, and they were like, "Cool." And then he just left the ending open. He left the finish open,
just in case.
So he would just go to Andre throughout the day when they're at the Silverdome, and be like, "Are we good, Andre?" And he'd be like, "I don't know. Are we?" And Andre apparently he just showed up and did what he always does: start cracking beers, and he starts playing cards. Sits down, starts drinking, starts playing cards. So the entire day, Hogan's like, "Hey, are we good?" And he's like, "I don't know. Are we?" It's like
just messing with him.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do tonight, Andre? What are you thinking? And he's like, "We'll do what's right." And he basically gets to that point in the match, and he hears Hogan say "slam." Or he tells Hogan "slam," and he's like, "All right, fucking slam." Boom. And as soon as he drops him, he hears Andre go "leg drop," and "All right, fucking leg drop." Boom. And he's like, I'm thinking he's gonna break out of it. Right. And 1, 2, 3, and he's just like, holy shit.
Right.
And the literally the universe changes, the wrestling landscape changes because. And that's the thing.
That was the Big Bang.
That's the thing.
That's the Big Bang.
And that's why Andre the Giant is special. Nothing changed after that. Oh, what changed after that was Hogan's career was skyrocketed. Nothing about Andre's legacy changed.
I'm going to go ahead and argue with... So just like earlier, you said that Goldberg's thing losing was one thing, and then The Undertaker's was losing the thing. Think about Andre's 20, 30 years of never losing.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he was starting to be booked kind of like Immortal against the WWE guys in the cartoon era.
Oh, yeah, so, no doubt.
His mystique absolutely got shelved. But I would say it's because they did the old Yeller thing. Like, the reason he passed it, because he was already in so much pain.
Oh, no doubt.
He could barely move. So he decided to step aside. But, his legacy just nosedove at that loss.
I'm glad he was still involved afterwards because he was still able to have a lot of fun with it. But again, you take a look at what that meant. And also at the same time, Randy Savage dropping the IC title. Right after that is when he starts turning around, and now people are liking him. Now he's not a heel anymore. He turns into a face, and that leads into the transition next year where he ends up taking the world title in the tournament at WrestleMania 4. It changed everything. That whole event changed the entire landscape of wrestling because it was the culmination of, literally, as Gorilla Monsoon says, the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. He said it many times, but that was literally the definition of that term.
I have an important question about that. So like you said, Andre showed up like he always did. He cracked 100 or 200 beers.
Yeah.
Played cards backstage.
Yeah.
I'm thinking how big cards are. I'm thinking how big Andre was. Do you think Andre had other people with like quote unquote normal sized hands using those giant like clown cards, or did the smaller handed people make Andre use those tiny little
the regulars? I love the story of Timmy White when he first Tim White, the referee.
Yeah,
he was really good friends with Andre the Giant, but when he first started reffing, he said he came back there in the locker room and was hanging out, and Andre looked at him, and it's like an unspoken rule that if you're not a wrestler or a referee, you don't hang out backstage.
Right.
That's why when we do IPW shit, I'm only back there when I need to be to get information, then I tip out because that ain't my big gig. And,
that's the rule, Enzo.
Yeah, and so Tim White's back there, and Andre looks at him, he's like, out! And he's like, what do you mean? No, I'm one of you guys. He wasn't a referee at this time.
Oh, no.
And Andre stood up. He's like, I said get out. And he's like, he stood up. And I'm like, oh my God. He was like, it was funny because he said he was playing cards with Tito, and Tito kind of looks over his shoulder like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's going to piss Andre off.
Tito Santana?
Yeah. Oh, man.
El Matador. So you all know how much I love CM Punk.
Yeah.
Yes. Punk.
I'm a broken record. Ring of Honor, always Ring of Honor. He was in what a lot of people would consider Ring of Honor's first, more sports entertainment angle.
Yeah.
With Raven. Raven was doing a lot of cool loops through different independents back around that time.
Yeah.
And when he came in, he was like, yeah, CM Punk's the guy I want to work. He's got the right personality. He's got the right attitude. It was so perfect again, though, because Raven was known for his debauchery.
Oh, no doubt.
That's his whole thing, right?
Right.
Proud of his addictions. CM Punk is legitimately straight edge and always has been. That's legit. He comes from an alcoholic home. He'll talk to you about it. I think that's why I jived. I immediately recognized the vibe.
Yeah.
We're covered in tattoos. We have bad attitudes. We have shitty dads.
Right.
But so one of the first things I saw him do was this interview, and maybe you've seen it. It's pretty iconic. He just had a match, and he comes backstage. He's wearing the crimson mask. He's all bloody from whatever. And he starts yelling at Raven in this interview.
Yeah.
And he had Colt Cabana with him. And I think Daphne at the time was with him as well.
Okay, yeah.
And he just opened up and lit into Raven. He was like, I hate you because you've had everything that I want, and I've watched you piss it away.
Yeah.
I've watched you blow it on women and drugs and booze and everything that I'm scraping and killing myself for. And you've already had. You just throw it away. And I remember my father drinking beer in the shower and passing out in the chair and me thinking what a waste that was. And I see you doing the same thing, and I hate you. I hate you for it. And you see Cabana looking at him like, fuck.
Right. That's a real ass shoot
Because they're really good friends.
Yeah,
He knows this is all true. And you know when you got something happening, it's like magic. That was one of those moments.
Absolutely.
And so for them to get in this blood feud, I remember them having a dog collar match in that Fed. That shit didn't happen in Ring of Honor. He won the world title in a classic heel turn moment. He leaves and comes over to ECW. His ascension is legendary as a Heyman guy.
Yeah.
I think about him in the Straight Edge Society. God, that was so funny. You know how we were bitching about Brock Lesnar starting this Royal Rumble the way he did?
Yeah.
Throwing everybody out. Did you both remember, though, that CM Punk did the exact same thing in 2010 or 9?
Yeah.
The first 8 or 9 people, he came out, and the Straight Edge Society people kind of helped him cheat. But when he'd throw people out, he'd grab the mic. And he was cutting promos on the crowd in between everything. Absolutely awesome. And then obviously he gets into his 2011 run, but always loved CM Punk. He's always pushed the boundaries. He's been polarizing everywhere he goes because he's a door opener. He's a trailblazer. I always respected and loved that guy. And his thing with Cena in 2011 and that title match in Chicago at Money in the Bank 2011.
Yeah.
That was a huge night also because that was the night Daniel Bryan won Money in the Bank.
Yep.
And then he was world champion in a very short amount of time. So huge window of important time for me. But yeah, I'll always love CM Punk.
I love how he won the title, literally ran through the crowd, got in his car, went home and threw the belt in his fridge.
Refrigerator, yeah. Yep.
Just freaking classic.
Yeah, and they had a camera guy following him. Sure enough, he ran out the side door, and there was a friend in the car. He lived 10 minutes from there. He's like, fuck it, I'm out.
And we talked a couple of weeks ago about best talkers, and, we left him out, I think, and he's one of the best.
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't bother because it's
it's
just
a given.
obvious. Yeah.
He's really up there, and not in a different way, but he's up there with The Rock in terms of, like you said, that the Raven promo. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
He's not performing. He is just an angry, pissed off, well-spoken dude, and he will let you know about it.
Yeah,
very naturally.
And the pipe, obviously, the pipe bomb promo was just straight up.
Yeah,
where he legitimately you've never seen anything like that before. Where he comes out there, he causes Cena to lose, grabs the mic and goes to the stage and just sits.
Crisscross applesauce, straight telling truth.
Isn't it nuts that they, knowing how they had treated him, and they've done this historically where they get a guy good and pissed off, and they're like, okay, fine, go out and vent your frustrations. But in 2011, that wasn't happening.
No.
And Punk was one of the best talkers they had. So to do that and be like, your contract's almost up, we know you're pissed, just go out there and talk. I'm mind blown that they ever let it happen in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't remotely surprised at how good it was because he's always been that good.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the perfect line. The stars aligned that night.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't have cut the mic off when he was about to trash McMahon.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I really
Right
want
at
to
the
know
bully.
what
Right at
he
the
had
bully
to say.
part. Yeah, that's right where they cut him.
Right
Yeah.
where they cut him.
Yeah.
Quick thing on that. A friend of mine had mentioned, and it might have been somebody in here or it might have been somebody else. Either way, it was still a friend. The idea of having CM Punk and The Undertaker feud, that was a solid feud, but the way in which he went about it was also very dark, very mean, very good, though.
Oh, with pouring out the ashes from the urn.
Yes.
But, I mean, did that
That
feud
and on
start
the-
after his passing, or did he pass during that feud?
During, I believe.
I mean, that's just cold-blooded, but that's
Yeah.
the best. That's the best wrestling, dude.
It was
Way better than Big Show jumping out of
cold-blooded.
casket.
I mean, better. Depends on your mood.
When you look back at it, it's kind of fun.
If I'm super high and giggly, there is nothing better than him jumping on a casket and getting dragged out of his own father's
Jumping on a
funeral.
casket.
Oh my gosh! You know, we should get into his worst talkers
Oof.
on another show because there's been some brutal ones too.
I've got a bunch that come to mind right away.
Oh man!
Natalia Neidhart comes to mind right away. Sheesh.
Oh my god!
Yeah, we'll save that one for another.
Yeah, we'll save those tasty morsels for another time. Yeah, there's
I don't know where we're at of time. Do we have more time?
We've
we
still
got
got
some time.
Yeah, we're
T-
talking wrestlers and match, right?
T, I was curious. What about feuds or specific angles? Do any of those jump out for you?
For sincerity and specific angle that grabbed my attention was honestly the Big Papa Pump and what's his face? The
Is it Bagwell?
Bagwell. Yeah.
That's so funny.
That one grabbed my attention. And I
Yeah.
mean, because of the sincerity that was there from Big Papa Pump.
Oh, they were both
And-
real mad at each other for
Yeah.
being too pumped.
Yeah, for being.
They were super competitive.
They were.
I'm the most
That's
pumped.
what it was. I'm the most pumped. I've got the biggest pythons. No, I've got the biggest python. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the Frankensteiner Hurricane Lana, that thing is dangerous. And Big Papa Pump is a crazy man. And I'm not going to mess with him. But I will say, yeah, that grabbed my attention. That was one that has always stuck in my jaw, man.
Talk about a dude who had 15 catchphrases and he would use them all in one sentence.
Yeah.
He says something about, obviously it always wrapped up with holler if you hear me.
Yeah.
But he had a couple of going. He's like, I'm going to be out here, not with you geeks, but backstage with my freaks. And I'm going to get my pump on, not just in the gym, but with Mr. Tim downstairs. Just making up shit, breaking off
Always.
math.
I'm a genetic freak.
There might be 6 people in that match, but there's only 2 teams, which means 3. If you divide 3 by 100, you get 333%.
All that I'm bringing to the ring.
2/3%. Because Jeff Jarrett knows he ain't gonna beat me.
Because his 1/3 ain't enough to rise to the occasion. Nope. Yeah. No.
Oh my God.
Sid
Steiner
Justice
man.
used his math, though. Sid Justice would say, I'm twice the man you are, but I've got half the brains you do. Hashtag Steiner math.
Hashtag Steiner
Coming
man.
out here week after week, trying to make me look like a jackass. Oh,
I can do that myself, jerks.
Goldberg.
Hold my beer.
Goldberg. Yeah.
oh my God.
But yeah,
So
that one
damn
grabbed my
funny.
attention. That one was one. Big Papa Pump has always been somebody that I don't.
Hilarious.
He is. I can't say that I like him, but man, he grabs my attention.
He's a Maury Povich segment come to life.
He is.
He really.
He really is. I mean,
God,
like Steve
that man.
Wilkos show. Like that is where I'm at. Yeah. They're also from Michigan, so I have to be fans of them in some way, shape, or form, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
And and we
Like
even
Madonna
touch on
and Ted Nugent.
again
Not-
things being thrown.
Half of that.
You talk
Ted
about
Nugent?
great feuds though, and great like angles. Like you go back to with the Golden Lovers. That's a huge one.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Berkley's from Michigan too.
Even with ECW too, the angle with Raven and Sandman.
Oh, man.
That's
Oh,
another
man,
super
yeah.
passionate one with Sandman's kid and his ex-wife.
The crucifixion.
The crucifixion. And,
That's a
oh,
funny
man.
story, too, because Kurt Angle was there that night.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Kurt Angle was actually supposed to do stuff with ECW, and yeah, he straight up told him, he's like, I want my check.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm
mailed to
good.
me.
If you put me on anything on this TV, I will sue your asses.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
better remove me from... I didn't know what a Jesus freak angle was at the time. He was
I don't think it was.
pissed.
I don't
he's-
know if it was like.
He
was
said it offended his
Yeah.
values that way, too.
Well, and that's pretty. I mean, you think about it though. He's an All-American. He's a gold medalist. He's an All-American. He's an Olympian.
So
he
is Phelps,
stands
but,
for what's that?
So is Phelps, but he likes to rip Z-bong occasionally.
Hey, I'll get.
He
with me
lived
on
in
that
Ann
one.
Arbor.
I'm not knocking it.
The air.
But it's just the fact that look at the time though. The time was a lot different. Things were not that edgy at that time. ECW really paved the way for edgy wrestling.
Yep.
Let's be honest.
That was
Everything
also
they
the
did.
only time a Raven ever
what
issued
E
an
stands
apology for anything he ever did.
You're right.
Remember they sent him back out, and he had the most insincere apology. He was like, "So it's been brought to my attention that I may have offended some of you earlier with my use of religious iconography. For those who I've offended with my behavior, I truly apologize." And he just bailed out and left.
Tip out. I'm gonna just tip out.
Yeah.
Now, it is interesting, though, that Angle was so bummed out about that low-rent crucifixion created with a mop handle and probably a broken piece of 2x4.
Yeah.
But then the one over at
The
Yeah.
Undertaker had a big fancy cross and
He
put
did it.
Stephanie on there. Like,
well, it wasn't technically a
That's
cross.
okay though, because
Oh,
he
sorry.
didn't put a halo on him.
well, it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It's different. But yeah, I would also say the feud with that China and that whole thing with Stephanie McMahon and all that, where they had a feud for a moment, if I remember correctly, and then it was
Yeah.
just like, let's just dissipate this. Let's not talk about this. This
You mean,
doesn't
was it when
exist.
Triple H was really the glue in
Yeah.
between those two?
Yeah.
What an awkward time in that guy's
That was
life.
awkward.
Yeah. I will say one of my favorite hardcore matches ever to watch, and it's just so freaking brutal and nasty. But if you have the means, check it out. Sabu versus Terry Funk in the Barbed Wire.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
That's when
by
his
the
that's when
end
his
of it-
arm got all shredded open.
Yeah, they were at the end of it. They're like, "You got to cut us." Like they were
gotta
absolutely.
stop.
I think it won with. Who was it? Who won that match? It was either Sabu.
Was there a winner?
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
there was.
I thought they just called it because they had to bring in the clippers and
Yeah.
cut all the barbed wire off
I
of them.
think, if I remember correctly, what happened was, and if I remember correctly, and I'm not even going to try to guess who it was, one of them, and I think it was Funk, wrapped themselves completely in barbed wire and then did a flip through what I think was Sabu through a table and pinned him 1, 2, 3 right
What
there.
I think was
Based
they
on
were
that
stuck.
description, I'm going to reverse roles and assume that was Sabu
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
the
that's what
rapping
I'm
and
saying.
jumping.
It was one of the two, but I remember the finish. One of them wrapped themselves in barbed wire and did a flip through a table on the other one, and they were just laying there. So the ref was like 1,
too
2,
much.
3, and it took them like 15 minutes
Yeah.
to untangle them from the barbed wire, and they were fucking just shredded.
T, do you know the detail about Sabu having his left bicep shredded?
Yeah.
Like stuck
Oh
in?
yeah, he got that big nasty scar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
he said he
remember
had to grab just some tape. He's another one of those. I'm not
Yep,
going to stop the
ring
match.
tape. Yep.
Apparently, it barely missed that giant artery that runs
my
through
God.
the
Femoral?
inside your bicep.
Is
No,
it the femoral?
femoral's down. It'd be
Oh.
up in his arm, but
Oh, I don't know.
yeah, he said it barely.
I'm not a
But you
doctor.
could see like in between the muscles and everything.
Yeah.
He just taped it shut and kept right on
Yeah.
fighting.
Yep. Ring tape, man.
You know, I've said this before, and I just watched it again because I always talk to you two about it. NXT was really exciting. I mean, it's exciting anyway, but a bunch of years ago when it was still becoming the juggernaut that NXT is,
Yeah,
it was exciting because we were watching that women's division come to life. And it was obvious that those four were going to just shake things up when they hit the main roster. It was interesting at the time that Bayley stayed back because she was right on par with those other three.
yeah.
Now she had been injured for a minute, and so I think that they wanted her to develop a bit more. But so, you know, Charlotte had won the title over Natalya to become that first NXT Women's Champ. Becky never had the title there, which a lot of people seem to
Yeah.
they don't remember. But so Sasha wins it from Charlotte, which was a huge deal.
Yep.
And that's when Sasha's boss character really started coming to life, and she was just becoming more and more of a mean bitch.
Yeah.
And getting more violent. Like, she's mean as hell when she's on. But so for Bayley to come up as pure and sweet as she was, and to see Sasha, you know, it almost was like that Stone Cold and Rock coming up against each
Yeah.
other, because they were both developing and had the perfect foil against which to develop. So when they finally got to that Takeover Brooklyn match, and it was the first time, like, that was a big main event for a pay-per-view, and the crowd they stole that show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
having
they did.
watched it as many times as I had, I'm not making it up, I was still sobbing by the end, not just because of the story, but kind of like with Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement too. It's not just the storyline. You know it's his life goal, and he
Yeah.
loves this so much.
Yeah.
And I'd never had that more than watching Bayley finally win and watch the crowd explode and watch them both sob and watch the other two women come out and do the Four Horsemen. It's so perfect. Yeah, I'm going to make you two watch it with me. It's
Awesome.
going to happen.
Will do. All right. Kick ass. Well, we will be back next week with another episode of the Crucial Squared Circle. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube, 1049 The Edge, do all that good jazz, and we will holla at you again soon. Deuces.
Bye.
Bye.